Hey, the DEI war in American civilization continues. Hi, I'm James Gorey. Welcome to the Banana Republican podcast. Look, American culture is reflected in the media, right? And in politics, and in the corporate world, and somewhat in the legal world as well. So there are big changes happening uh, in the landscape, in the cultural landscape. That includes the DEI side and the other side, the normal side. I don't call it normal, but the traditional side, right? So it's happening in both directions. First, at the Supreme Court, they're allowing Trump to revoke the DEI-related National Institute of Health grants. Presumably, that's about, I think it's about eliminating transitional drugs for kids, for children, and puberty blockers and those types of things, which I think is horrendous. Why would anyone want to let their child do that or have their child do that? It's just not good. I think the Trump administration is also getting rid of kind of the woke retelling of American history, where everything is horrible in American society at our founding, and the kind of the 1619 delegitimization of the American idea. So that needs to go. You can't have it both ways, right? You can't have the whole world streaming into America on the one hand, feeding, clothing, housing, medicating them, and teaching them on the one hand, and then at the same time telling real Americans, the people who are born here, the people who have legacy here, how horrible the country is, and it shouldn't exist. I mean, you can't have both. Pick one. But the fact is, the world streams to America. They're not going anywhere else because American culture, American society, American opportunity is the best in the world, and that's just the reality is. But the culture wars, and particularly the DEI wars, are continuing. The latest, obviously, you probably know, Cracker Barrel, a restaurant chain in the South. I've never been there, as far as I can tell. But they have just Bud Lighted themselves in a ridiculously stupid move, I think, in my estimation at least. They got rid of the logo of the Southern gentleman with the shotgun or whatever it was, the rocking chair. Anyway, there's a barrel, it says Cracker Barrel on it. So the logo has changed, the image of the company has changed, and the CEO, a gal probably in her mid-30s, said basically, look, we're going to change the menu, we're going to change the image, change the logo, change our values to make it more diverse, more inclusive, less Southern food, more highly nutritious food, maybe less fried or whatever. I don't know what the menu is. I mean, but those are her statements in a nutshell. Basically, she did what Bud Light did. She just turned on her demographic. Told her customers, we don't want you anymore, pretty much. So Cracker Barrel has lost, I don't know, 10% of their value overnight, like $250 million in stock value, maybe more. And people will go elsewhere, I'm sure. People will boycott it. They will not go there. And I imagine she will be fired before the month of August is out. On the flip side, CBS has been bought or acquired or merged with Skydance. And Skydance has issued a very clear statement that, to the effect, the DEI, bias in the news, leftist-driven agenda, anti-Americanism, those types of things will not be tolerated. They're leaving. They're getting rid of. They're going away. And they want to make CBS a trustworthy news organization. Presumably, they know that it wasn't. Interesting thing, because CBS could have done that on their own, but they didn't. It took someone else to buy them. Same kind of situation with MSNBC, in that they realize there's a problem because their ratings are in the bottom of the Cracker Barrel. But instead of changing their lineup, as far as I can tell at this point, they've just changed their name. They're now MSN Now, MSNNOW, News of the World, whatever it might be. The acronym doesn't really matter. Whereas CBS had a problem, and the people who bought it said, no, we're going to do an entire transplant. So big difference in how they're handling it, but both need huge amounts of work done. So MSNBC should know that hiding behind a lie is not going to change things. They've been hiding behind lies for 15 years, and this is where they are. On the other side of things, American Eagle is killing it. They're kicking ass in value and in sales, and that tells you that there's nothing wrong with a beautiful young woman in a pair of jeans. Okay? That'll sell jeans all day long. And that's what people want. That's what people relate to. Nobody relates to these other things, these bizarre ads of not, really obese, unhealthy people, really. I mean, not that they're obese, it's a horrible thing, but it's unhealthy. And they're presenting as normal. It's not normal. It shouldn't be normal anyway. It didn't used to be. And I think the whole situation with the health, what health is, I think RFK, just kind of a side note, but RFK is trying to get sugar and dyes and preservatives and additives and GMO products out of our food chain so that our young people especially, but most Americans, can get back to being healthy, which is a good thing. Meanwhile, in New York City, Zoran Mamdani is probably going to be the next mayor. He's surrounding himself with radical advisors, George Soros type people, Elizabeth Warren advisors, just a bunch of socialist, anti-Israel, anti-American, anti-democracy people. And I think in my estimation, Zoran Mamdani is probably an Islamic radical at heart. He certainly doesn't speak like one who favors America, democracy, or the American way of life. He wants to socialize stores in New York City and do other kinds of communistic, socialistic policies. So, I mean, that's just, I'm not sugarcoating it. I'm not being mean. That's what he said that he wants to do. He's kind of backtracked on to make it more amenable, but I take him at his word. I take him at his word. His first words are probably his most accurate. And the fact that he chose to be portrayed on television, sitting down eating rice out of a bowl like some nomadic goat herder, okay, that's his choice. That's the message he was sending. And I think that I reject that message. I think most of America would reject that message. Unfortunately, probably most of New York City will embrace that message. So there we have it. On the left coast, Gavin Newsom's California leads the country again in unemployment and in jobs moving out of the state. So Gavin is going full blast on DEI. He hasn't really changed that at all. He has appeared on some different podcasts trying to moderate his perception, or people's perception of him rather, but it's not going to happen. California is just going down the tubes. DEI Mayor Karen Bass, who was out of the country during the fires, so her DEI fire chief was highly successful in enabling all the best places in LA to burn to the ground because there was no water in the fire hydrants because the reservoirs were drained of water shortly before then. So there you have it. You have DEI mayor, DEI governor, DEI fire chief, and a DEI legislature in California. They're all left and they're destroying the place. There's a reason people leave California. There's a reason businesses leave California. It's because California drives them out. And a big part of that are taxes, the DEI requirements for business, and the DE hires for business and government particularly have proven to be just incompetent. So that's what's going on in the culture wars. Part of the country gets it. Part of the corporate world gets it. Cracker Barrel does not get it. Bud Light didn't get it. So they both got what they deserved. You need to look, if your clientele, if your customer base is young people who identify as multiple genders or whatever that may be, then you speak to them, and that's your demographic. Those are your customers. If your customers are conservative people with traditional values, you speak to them. There's nothing wrong with having different communities, different customer bases. You just need to recognize it. But you don't try to change the customer base. That's the problem with DEI. It assumes this mantle of authority, of moral superiority, when it's just not the case. It's just not the case. And I'm reminded of an ancient biblical phrase that says something like, "Woe to those who call evil good and good evil." So when Cracker Barrel says to its clientele, "You're bad," they're not saying that. overtly, but they're just changing their logo, changing their menu, changing their messaging. Same thing with Bud Light. It says, well, your fraternities and your construction workers and your factory workers, you're bad. We're going to change you by changing the message of the beer that you drink. You're inverting things, and people don't like it. Very simple. So woe to them. And Cracker Barrel is learning that lesson very, very quickly. Or at least they're getting schooled very, very quickly. They're losing a lot of money. I think 10%, $250 million worth in stock value, maybe more. And I think she'll probably be fired. The CEO will be fired before the end of the month, I would imagine. They should be. She should be. So anyway, that's the culture war today, Friday. If you like conversation like this, please give us a subscribe rather, follow, subscribe, comment, share, all the above. All right, thanks a lot. See you next time.